Welcome back to Central News. In January, Stuart Caldwell was on Central News talking about the increasing amount of teens drinking between the ages of 12 and 17. Get Smart Tauranga have identified certain areas that need targeting to try and turn this binge drinking culture around. I caught up with Stuart in Tauranga to talk about the education program they have in the Bay schools. Stuart, just to do a bit of a recap, just how bad is drinking amongst young people?
Well, we've got a huge problem in Tauranga, and when I started in this organisation 3 years ago, I'd only seen a few drunk kids in isolation. What I didn't realise was that right across Tauranga, every Thursday, Friday and Saturday night, there's about 1,000 intoxicated youth, and a lot of them are underage, they're under 18.
Now, what is Get Smart Tauranga doing in the balcony schools to combat this drinking culture?
Well, we're in 5 schools every week with 2 counsellors, and they rotate through those schools. Last year we were in all 8 high schools in Tauranga and the Tauranga district. We give education and counselling. We have just decided that middle of last year that we needed to go into intermediate schools as well. And most parents will know that by the time a child reaches 14, their influence over that child has largely diminished, and they're doing their own thing. So we wanted to get into intermediate schools sort of before the pony bolts, and really in conjunction with that give parents seminars as well. So we're working hard on getting funding to prepare those programs right now. Yeah.
Now, what's some of the programs that you cover within the schools? I understand there's the 4 stages of intoxication.
Yeah. We developed last year through V-Marketing this poster here, and it covers the 4 stages of intoxication. Basically, when a young person, 13, 14, and this is where they're starting, sometimes younger, when they start drinking, they have no idea what this many standard drinks or this many RTDs, that's ready to drink drinks, is going to do to them and how it's going to affect them. So we talk to them about the mouse stage, which is a quiet drink, flushing of the skin, increased heartbeat, and even the really quiet ones get more talkative. And then the next stage is the monkey stage, which is false sense of confidence, poor judgment, more emotional, loss of coordination, they start wobbling around on their feet, and then they get loud and blurred vision. Now what's happening is that as more alcohol is taken on board, the body protects the heart so it doesn't stop beating, so it has to shut down a whole lot of the other modes. So essentially it is shutting down your hearing. So that's when you go to a party and the music's get really loud when people are getting more drunk. The reason they turn the music up is so they can hear it at the same level as when they're sober, because when they're getting drunk, their hearing's actually going down. As you know, your vision goes down. So that's the monkey stage. The next stage is the wolf stage, and this is where fights break out. This is where you wake up on Sunday morning, can't remember what happened Saturday night. You stop feeling, this is a really serious one, you stop feeling cold, heat and pain. And one story that we use really effectively is, unfortunately, a 14-year-old boy in Taupo 2 years ago was 5 minutes walk from his grandmother's home and decided to go to sleep in the park. And he was found the next morning by his rugby coach dead from hypothermia because it was -2 degrees that night. Now, he wanted to be a lawyer when he left home. He wasn't a heavy drinker or anything like that. It was his birthday. He went out and the autopsy found that he'd had 14 standard drinks, and that had just brought him into that state. The last stage is illustrated graphically and terribly by James Webster from King's College in Auckland. It's a college that the Prime Minister's son goes to. It had huge publicity throughout the nation because James basically went into a coma, and we've got on here possible death. In his case it wasn't possible death, it was real death, and he again was a great student, and huge loss to his parents, and this is happening far too commonly across our nation. The major factor for teenagers or anybody in a developing, in an age when the brain is developing, is that alcohol affects the brain long after the buzz wears off, long after you've had the drink. Alcohol is having a detrimental effect on your brain and on your other organs. And we've got a lot of education out there now about young mothers or any mothers drinking during pregnancy, because the alcohol is going to go straight to the baby, and fetal alcohol syndrome, as it's called, and fetal alcohol effects can give a lifetime sentence to that unborn child. What we are looking for is that people understand that the effect of alcohol through the developing years of adolescence also has a huge detrimental effect on the brain.
Now, how is this message then passed on to parents or the caregivers?
We're planning parent seminars, but I think there's just a really a lot of ignorance with parents. Sometimes they come from a history themselves where they say, oh, we had a few drinks and it didn't affect us that much. What they don't realise is that when they were having those few drinks, they had to go to a lot of trouble to get those drinks. In that there was only wine and beer available. The RTDs hadn't, for the most part, come out unless they were really young parents. The RTDs came out about 1995, and they are ready to drink. They are mixed already, so you've got vodka, you've got bourbon, etc., already mixed and with heaps of sugar in it so that it tastes lovely. And the alcohol industry has spent millions and millions of dollars to make it palatable, basically.
Now, how do the schools and pupils respond to the programs that you are implementing?
Great. We make them interesting, we make them funny in some instances. We have them involved wherever we can. They do little tests and feedback to us, and the evaluations that we have, by and large, they would give us 7, 8 or 9 out of 10 generally.
So where to from here?
Where to from here? Well, the big thing was the alcohol law reform submissions. They closed last Friday, the 18th of February. And we're waiting to see a real initiative taken by this government to close down some of the things that have been, in our view, the causes behind a lot of binge drinking. If I can just read you a couple of little things here from one of the submissions. What we want to see is an end to ultra-cheap alcohol. So we've already discussed that, and it's just cheaper than bottled water and cheaper than Coke. An end to highly normalised and accessible alcohol, and about 60% of all alcohol sold is in supermarkets, and we don't like the idea that supermarkets, where you're meant to buy food, their major commodity is alcohol. And an end to all alcohol advertising and sponsorship. And an end to legal drunk driving. So basically at the moment, 0.8 is the level that you're allowed still to drink at, and you're actually drunk at that point. So the people that are over the limit are just basically legalists in many cases, but those that are right on the limit are still actually drunk. And the government is quite happy to allow 60 people a year to die directly from drunk driving.
Well, thanks, Stuart, so much for having us here. Keep doing what you're doing, and we'll definitely see a change in society, I'm sure.
Thanks very much, Katrina. Really appreciate it.
Stuart Caldwell from Get Smart in Tauranga. They're doing a fantastic job in the community.